Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pole Project. This is Ayelet as usual, and today, as the title says, I am going to talk to you about the big question of them all: is pole dancing a feminist act? And I have discussed that with my friend, and she is the one who gave me the idea and the inspiration to do this episode. So thank you, Yam. Thank you so much. She will also be already has been our Polar of the Week, so go check her out. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Polar of the Week is a weekly corner in my Instagram and Facebook pages in which I upload different people who I find inspiring and who I feel like has something to say that is unique about the pole industry and community. So go check that out if you haven't yet, and make sure you follow along. And let's get to it. So the main question when I say that I'm a feminist and a pole dancer is how is this possible? Like, the entire origins of pole dancing began in an industry that objectified women, and that kind of contradicts the whole point of being a feminist. But I think the idea of pole dancing and stripping nowadays is very different than it used to be. The idea is that by choosing to do these things, rather than being it a last resort, quote unquote, for many women, as it has been, and still is for some, but mostly pole dancing and stripping is now a choice. The power is in our hands, and when we choose to do it, we make the industry ours and for us, instead of it being for men. Another feminist aspect of our pole dancing is that we are creating an entirely new industry which is mostly female. If you look at the pole market right now, studio owners, pole clothes designers, judges in competitions, just athletes in general that get paid by their country, and countries enlightened enough to recognize pole dancing as a proper sport, it makes up an entirely new different market that is dominated by women, which is a huge win considering the fact that most industries are ruled by men, and it gives us financial independence, which is really, really cool. So that is also a huge point to why being a pole dancer and actively being in the community and doing it in some way that benefits you financially is a feminist act. Not to mention the obvious reason, which is pole dancing makes us more in tune with our body, makes us more in tune with our sexuality. It lets us express our sexuality the way we want and we find comfortable, and in an environment that feels comfortable for us. We set the rules. One more thing that is worth mentioning is the aspect of self-esteem and self-image, which is usually very improved by doing pole dance. I will once again give my all-time favorite quote about pole dancing and the reason that I love it so much. It teaches us to love our bodies for what they're capable of and not for what they look like. And once you embrace this worldview, the entire way that you look on yourself, the entire way you think and respond to your own body and your own reflection in the mirror completely changes and flips upside down. And you start caring way more about what you can do and not what you look like. One of the last things that I really wanted to mention is the huge sense of community that comes along with pole dancing. In a sport like ours, which is dangerous and oftentimes you fail many, many times before you succeed, making friendships is so easy and so quick in the pole world, because once you fail so hard and you're so frustrated and you let all your emotions out, you're in a very vulnerable place. It's on that moment where you're so vulnerable and sensitive that friendships are created, because someone is there to lift you up, or you are there to lift someone else up, and no one in the pole studio never judges you, and that is just the most magical feeling in the world. Pole friendships are just so unique and we have to cherish them. So to conclude, in my opinion, the meaning of being a feminist is to empower women and encourage us to be free to choose what we want to do with our lives and how we want to express ourselves. Obviously, some people will always think, I'm not talking even about only men, some women as well, will always associate pole dancing with stripping, and that would make them cheap and sexual in their eyes. However, there are so many women doing pole dancing and stripping right now out of their own free will and actually enjoying it. I think the revolution we made in the industry is so amazing and is a huge step forward for the feminist movement. And as feminists, we should be focused about our efforts to fight the people who create the oppression of women, and understand that idea, the whole idea of being a feminist, is the opposite of telling other women what they can and can't do. Like, literally, the only thing that I think all feminists should agree on is that being a feminist is the female freedom. Like, if I had to just sum it in a few words only, the female freedom is the huge point in all of this, and I really think that doing pole is ultimate female freedom. Yeah, so that is it for today's episode. Thank you for listening for my feminist rant. As I mentioned, you can follow along on our Instagram and Facebook pages if you want to see more visual content, and our Polar of the Week corner, obviously. Also, if you want to be featured in Polar of the Week, all you have to do is DM me and say a few words on why you think you are special in the pole industry and what you would want other people to take from you. So that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, and hopefully I'll see you again next week. Until then, goodbye and happy pole dancing!